it's really important to know that the more clarity you have on where you're going, the more likely you're going to get there. You cannot expect to achieve your goals if you don't even know what they really are or you don't feel connected with them. And you can't reach those goals if you don't break them down.
Welcome to Imprint, a podcast about creating a home and life you love. I'm Natalie Walton, an interior designer, stylist, and best-selling author focused on an holistic approach to homes. Each week, I'm sharing insights and interviews about the creative process to help you enhance both your interiors and well-being, as well as provide you with the tools and resources to make considered and sustainable choices with all that you create.
Hello everyone, welcome to Imprint. I'm very excited to have you join me today because this topic has very much been front of mind for me, and I thought it might be for you as well. We are, halfway through the year, and it's really important to just take a moment and take a pause at certain times to really assess, where are you at? And reflect, how's this 6 months gone for you? What goals did you set for the new year? What were your plans? And where are you with them right now? So we're going to dive into these questions because, as I said, I do find it's really important. It's an exercise that I have literally gone through myself. It's a couple of steps to the process, and I started it at the end of last week. And I've kind of been working on it each day this current week. And I wanted to share the questions that I'm asking myself to help get clarity, the steps that I've been going through, and I hope that you're going to find it really valuable. So if you feel like you've fallen off track from the goals that you set for the beginning of the year, or maybe you can't even remember what your goals were, or maybe you need to pivot and change direction. This year there's been lots of changes to the economy, and, interest rates have been going up and consumer spending has dropped. So, if you've got a product or a service, maybe sales have been really slow and you're having to evaluate, what you're doing with your business, then I think you're going to find this episode really valuable because, first of all, I want you to know you're not alone. And, these things are going on for lots of people. And, but even if you don't have that, you might just, maybe you're at home with kids right now, but you're still thinking about, I had this goal or this dream or plan that I had at the start of the year. And I feel so disconnected from it. So I think you're going to find this episode really valuable if that's your situation. And as I said, I'm going to be sharing the process that I've gone through to kind of really work through these questions and, just get back on track. So as I said, there's 3 steps that I'm going to be sharing with you. And this is really what works for me. So, it's not just kind of theory. It is like literally, the steps that I've been taking this week. And it's really important to know that the more clarity you have on where you're going, the more likely you're going to get there. You cannot expect to achieve your goals if you don't even know what they really are or you don't feel connected with them. And you can't reach those goals if you don't break them down. So that's what we're going to do today. And as I said, I hope that you're going to find this really valuable. Now, goal planning is actually something that I teach in depth in the Styling Masterclass. I created in the sort of one of the recent courses for that, an annual planner. And this, honestly, I take this everywhere. It's a 1-sheet document, and I've printed out an A4 version. I'm holding it in my hands right now because what I do is I actually put it inside my laptop so I see it every single day. And I was going over it with my husband yesterday because I mark in there the school holidays, all the public holidays. And so I can really see the year at a snapshot. And, and I can break things down. I kind of tend to work in terms rather than quarters, although they're kind of overlapped a little bit. And so if you are in the styling masterclass, I know lots of students listen to this podcast, make sure that you go into the mini course, which is how to make your time count. And there is an annual snapshot planner. I mean, even if we're, halfway through the year, like I've kind of been using it to this point, and now I'm mapping out that second half of the year. And honestly, it's like, it is my favorite thing. So I really encourage you to go and grab that. But, even if you're not in the course, like just to have an annual planner, I used to you can buy them on Etsy and Kiki K, the stationery store. They had one, and I had a really big one, but I actually prefer having this A4 version. I mean, you've got to write small, but I like the fact that I can take it everywhere with me. Whereas the other one, it was kind of too big. I'd sort of pull it out or I put it on a pin board at certain times. But anyway, really, really helpful. And I hope that you find that valuable. Like I said, if you're in the course, you can just print it off or, go and grab yourself something similar. Now, the biggest ask is that, as I said, I'm going to be sharing the exact steps that I have taken, and that you really take action on these, because I really think you're going to find them valuable. And now, of course, when it comes to planning our time and planning our goals and like what we want out of our life, it's so easy to to get off track with them, and that we don't stay connected with our goals. I think that's one of the big problems, is that we can start the new year with all of these ideas and we feel really excited and, we've got this fresh start. But, as the year goes on and things turn up and, children, they have their own sort of set of needs if you've got children, or families, or all of the things. And it's very easy to just end up living by default, and we kind of don't connect back with those goals. Or maybe, for you, one of the big challenges is that you're just doing too much. You're too busy and you put too much on your plate. And so that bigger goal it just keeps getting pushed to the side. And you actually now feel like you're no further along on your journey to achieving that goal. Another big challenge that comes up when it relates to sort of goal setting and time management and time planning is that, you might have that goal and, that goal that you felt really excited about at the beginning of the year, but you haven't actually turned that goal into a plan. And, you really need to make sure that you've got a system that works for you. Now, the flip side of this, though, is, of course, this is something that you can learn, and I'm going to share what works for me in this episode. But when you learn how to manage your time the right way, you can create so much more. Well, first of all, a huge sense of relief, because you've got such a clear map of where you're going. And that's why, for me, that annual planner, it is honestly my favorite thing, because it just gives me that map of like what's coming up, and I don't feel like I'm just walking in the fog. It's like I've got a clear direction, a clear pinpoint that I'm heading towards. And, that gives you more freedom with how you can then obviously manage your time around that, because like you've got those clear goals, you've got that clear plan. And then around that, like there is a lot of freedom around, on the periphery of that. And that's where you can have fun. And as I said, like for me, it just lifts a huge weight off my shoulders to know where I'm going and how I'm going to get there. And really learning how to manage your time is one of the most important skills that you can learn. So, my goal for you is that you will gain some clarity by the end of this session, and really learn how you can focus on the right things and do them in the right order. Because again, I think, sometimes we can kind of do a brain dump of, the things that we want in our life, but then where we trip up is often that we don't have things in the right order, and we end up spending our time doing things that are actually not moving us towards that goal or towards, the ideal vision that we have. And also, you can really learn to reclaim your time. So you can learn how to simplify in a way that's right for you. And I'm going to be sharing my simplify to multiply model that I'll be touching on that. This is again something that I teach in the Styling Masterclass. And it really is about learning how to work smarter, not harder, because, we all do have the same amount of hours in a day, days in a week. And, there are, definitely people out there who are kicking goals. And I know that for me on my journey, I'm so much better at this than I have ever been. Like every time I'm working through it, I'm getting better and more clarity and just managing to get the right things done. Whereas I used to be really busy. I mean, I used to work crazy hours and I don't do that anymore. I don't work evenings. I don't work weekends. And, I used to have to do that because I just had a ridiculous amount on my plate. And it wasn't stuff that was necessarily helping me move forward. So when I learned how to manage my time, I was really learning how to focus on the most important tasks, the ones that really moved the needle. And so this is something I call the time growth model. And again, it's something that I teach in the course, the Styling Masterclass, but I'm just going to touch on it for you right now so that you can get a bit more clarity about where you are on your journey to managing your time. And, the first is that you need to have a clear goal about where you're going, and you need to have a system that helps you get there. And so maybe, right now you've got a system, in terms of like, you've got a long list of all the things that you're doing, but don't have that clarity. And what can happen is you can just end up circling on doing tasks that keep you busy, but don't actually move you forward. Or, you can maybe sort of have a sense of like, this is the goal that I have for myself, but you don't have a system. And so you're constantly reacting to situations and you're very reactive. You're reactive to, your day. You don't have a plan for your day. You don't have a plan for your weeks. And so every day it's kind of like, oh, like my email or my inbox, that is the thing that is determining how I'm spending my time. And really your email or your inbox or your DMs or, however you communicate with other people, maybe you're on like a WhatsApp group for school or whatever it is. And, that is somebody else's agenda. And you've got to get clear on what is my agenda? What is it that I want to achieve? How do I want to spend my time? So it's a big trap to fall into, to be in that kind of reactive mode. And, to be quite honest, we have 4 children at school. And so there are 4 parent groups, like in terms of communication. And some of them are WhatsApp, some of them are, there's an app called Signal. And to be honest, I'm not on any of them, not active. And I have sort of said to the class coordinator, look, I've got 4 children. Just let me know, like, can you just email what are the most important things? Because you go into these apps and honestly, there is like reams and pages of like, just kind of like, oh yes, I want to do, yeah, that's a great idea. Oh yes, great. And there's like, you'll have like 10 people saying great or okay or what, and like you're scrolling and thinking like, I just want to find like what I actually need to know. Like this is it's just chatter. And that's fine if you've got lots of time on your hands, but I don't, like I've got 4 children, I've got 2 businesses. And so I just want to know like, what are the essential things? Like, is it a meeting that I need to go to? Or do I need to donate money to a fund or, like a fundraising thing? Or do I need to bring in something for the class? Or like, let me know the essential things. I don't need to know all the chatter that goes around all of those things. And so, and I actually know a few other parents who've got, multiple children, 3 or 4 children. And one of my very good friends who's got 5 children, she says exactly the same thing. She says she is not on any of the apps because it's just already, I'm conscious of how much time I spend on the phone and I don't want to be spending any more time on the phone. So anyway, any of you who have children, I'm sure that you can relate, particularly if they're school age children. So you've got to be really careful that you're not in reactive mode. And of course, if you don't have any clarity and you don't have a system, you're just going to be in confusion. You're not going to be really getting anywhere with anything. And where we want to get you is to have more clarity and have a system. And that's how you can grow your time. That is how you can multiply your time. So, really think about where you are right now. Do you have a system and do you have real clarity on your goals? Because that's where we want to be getting you. And that's where, I'm always focusing and putting my energy and attention. And that's what's helping me to move forward and has worked really well. So, as I said, you can't expect to achieve your goals if you don't know what they are or if you don't have a system and you haven't broken down the process. So I'm going to share with you exactly how I do this. So these are the 3 steps that I'm taking right now for a mid-year reset. The first step is to create awareness. So I recently, I just welcomed in a whole bunch of new students into the Styling Masterclass. Before that, I did the course Renovation Ready. I've been working on the design of the headquarters for my shop, Imprint House, and a whole bunch of activities in relation to Imprint House. And so, really have been looking at, okay, what's happened this past 6 months? Where am I at with my sort of financial goals and the goals in terms of what I'm wanting to achieve? And really have taken that moment to review what has worked and what hasn't worked about the past 6 months. And, there is this saying that like what gets measured gets improved. It's really important to create awareness about what you're doing and how you're spending time. So if you want to improve your finances, if you've been, certainly within Australia, and I think this is true around the world, interest rates have been going up. So your mortgage, if you've got a mortgage, you've more likely paying, quite a bit more now for your mortgage than you were last financial year or last calendar year. So you might be looking at or need to look at, where are you spending your money? And we actually did this exercise the other day and looked at like literally, our bank statement, because I do find that with this, like tapping your phone or tapping your card, it's just, there's part of me that doesn't like it. I mean, I used to, like back in the day, I would get my wages and I would literally kind of get the money out that this is the amount of money that I'm going to spend this week. And I'm only going to spend this money. This is for food and, occasional spending, and the rest would go into a savings account. And, and I was saying to my husband that like, I actually want us to create a bank account that is literally like, this is the money that we have to spend this week. And everything has to come out of that. So, if the kids need some new trainers for school or, whatever the things that come up, one of my sons, he wanted a new pair of slippers, it needs to come out of that. So you're just not constantly like dipping into your savings. And, so it's really important. Like if you're having to look at your finances right now, then, you need to look at like, well, where am I spending my money, and really measuring that and having a clear goal in relation to that. The same as if you're struggling with time, you need to create a time diary. Like, how am I actually spending my time? What is working? And, where am I wasting my time? The same if you have got a goal for your health, maybe it's a weight goal that you have or a fitness goal, and you need to, again, create a food diary of like, what are you eating? And because it's very easy to trick ourselves and kind of forget about the things that we might be snacking on or whatever. And again, like this is something that I've kind of fallen into. I realized, normally I don't snack, and it's kind of crept back in a little bit. And so it's like, no, like, I need to get back to what works for me and makes me feel my best self and my optimal self. So you need to measure where you're spending your time in relation to whatever it is that you're working on right now. And, this is part of this simplified planning system that, I go through with students in the Styling Masterclass. So awareness is like one of the most important and the first step in, any type of planning. So, really think about where you're at on your journey. Like, are you creating awareness around your goal? And do you have a really clear process about how you're doing that? The second step is to create a filter. So these are literally the questions that I have been working through over the past week And as I said, the first step was like I was looking back at creating that awareness of like, okay, well, how are we at with our financial goals at the moment, with time and, other areas, and sort of really taking an assessment of, where are we at right now? And then the next step is to really create a filter. So, reconnect. And this is really good for you, for those of you who can't ever remember what your goal was for the start of the year, or you don't feel like you're really connected with it at the moment, is, I do this question and these journal questions all the time. I just find it really helpful for me. And the first question that I answered, and I literally did this again this morning, is where do I want to be in 5 years' time? What do I want my life to look like? And so I really encourage you to answer that question. And I do find that to literally write it down in a notebook is so much more powerful than just kind of ruminating on it. Like, I think to see it in physical form is really powerful. And, there is a whole heap of science and research that backs that up, that, it's really important to write down. We're more likely to pay attention to the things that we write down. The second question that I wrote is, what is my ideal week and how do I want to spend my days? So again, it's very easy to get caught up in, how other people are living their life or what they're doing. But my encouragement for you is that you really get clear on what your ideal work week is, or week in general. Maybe you're not working at the moment, but get clarity on that. Because again, like I said, if you're in reactive mode, then it's very easy to spend your time, doing things that working for other people rather than what works for you. And then the third question is, what is getting in my way from achieving my goal? So, this is a really powerful question that you can ask yourself. And I do find that when you answer this question, you kind of get the golden answer of like why you're not where you want to be. So, really ask yourself these questions and think about, can you kind of commit to answering these questions and really digging deep and thinking about them to help yourself move forward. Just quickly, can you think about how you discovered this podcast? It was probably when someone shared it with you, maybe on Instagram, or someone sent you a text message. I often share podcasts this way with my friends and family, or maybe somebody told you about it. The only way this podcast grows is through word of mouth. I don't run any ads, even though I've been asked. I don't do affiliate links or anything like that. And so to make this podcast possible, my one ask of you is that you share it with someone, perhaps in the same way that you found it. Maybe you read a review or saw it on Instagram. It would not only mean so much to me and help make the podcast possible, but you're also going to be helping someone else like you, or maybe a version of you a few steps back, who is on their journey to creating a home and life they love. That one little action that you can take today can really make a huge difference. Now, the third step in this process is that, once you've got a little bit more clarity, is to then create constraints. So the truth is that we can't do everything. As much as, sometimes we might like to, we just can't. There is a million things I'm sure that you want to do. I know that there's, I've got a whole heap of things that are on my list, and but that we just can't, And so the most successful people, they have the same amount of hours in a day and the same amount of days in a week and, weeks in a year. Everybody is working within the same time frame. And yet the people that you really look up to, they're doing something different. And if they are further along in their journey, I can guarantee you that the difference is how they manage their time. And when I say it's how they manage their time, the key element is that they create constraints. They learn how to focus on what's most important. Constraints are a key ingredient for so many things, from everything to do with engineering to, everything. Like, you just can't do everything. And so it's really important to understand that you need to make a decision about what you're going to spend your time on and how you're going to spend your days and how you're going to spend your weeks. And it's important to know that the Latin root of the word decision, so you need to make some decisions, is literally means to cut or kill. So you need to remove things from your list that are not going to help you move forward. And so I'm going to share, how I do this. So what I do is at the start of every week on a Monday morning, I do what I call a Monday morning download. And so I literally download like all the things that I need to do that week. Now, in relation to this 6 months, the past 6 months have gone and the 6 months to come, or wherever, like maybe you're going to be listening to this in October. Wherever you're at, it is good to have that that longer frame goal. So I encourage it to be like for the quarter or the 6 months or for the year. And you can do this exercise as well as for every week, but you need to basically do a brain dump. You need to put down all the things that are like, oh, I was thinking of doing this and that and and all the things, and have them in relation to the different areas of your life as well. So, if that relates to your children, if that relates to your health, whatever those things are, just get them all out, because that in itself is such a mental relief to just release them and just get them out. And then within that, the second step is that you need to work out what you're going to prioritize. So you need to make a decision. And that, as I said, that decision is literally, what are you going to cut or kill? And the way that you can work that out is you really need to ask yourself, what is going to move the needle to help me get closer to my goals? So out of all of these things, what things are going to help me get closer to my goals? And then from those, then you make the decision, okay, well, what am I going to just remove from this list? Like, what is actually not that important? It's not, it's a nice to have, but it's not actually an essential thing. What is something that I can, give to somebody else perhaps? So what is something that I can delegate, or what is something that I can defer? What is something that I can delay to another time? And it can be helpful to just maybe put that list, in a spreadsheet or a notebook, or if you've got a business, your project management software, we use Asana, a Google Doc, whatever it is. So you don't need to say, I'm never going to do these things, but take them off your plate for right now and just focus for this next 6 months. What are the things that I'm going to really focus on for this next 6 months? And I want you to think about, if you, on a scale of 1 to 10, if you were to take these 3 steps, how would that help you with your goal right now? How much closer would it help you get there? Because I think it's really important to kind of get that perspective in relation to that. So, and if you don't do these exercises, if you don't take these steps, then, how are you going to achieve your goals? You really need to create a plan. So let's just do a quick review of some of the ideas that I've shared with you today. The first is that you need to create a filter. Sorry, you need to create awareness. So what gets measured gets improved. So that is really important. The second is that you need to create a filter. And then the third is, and obviously a filter is like, this is really helping you reconnect with your goal and really learn what's most important to you. And the third is to create constraints. So this is where you really make the decision. And again, remember what decision means. You make the decision about what you're going to focus on for the next 6 months. And you need to take certain things off your plate so that you can actually make the other, what remains happen. So I want you to think about what's been most valuable from today's episode and, some of these ideas that I've been sharing with you. And, I really want to make sure that you take some action. So here are 3 the 3 things that I really want you to take action on. So first of all, you need to ask yourself the following questions, which is, where do I want to be in 5 years' time? What do I want my life to look like? That's that question. The second question is, how do I want my ideal week to look like? How do I want to spend my days? And the third is, what is getting in my way from achieving this goal? They're really 3 important questions. And I encourage you to maybe press pause and go back and just write those down again. And then the second is that you really need to put your goal somewhere that you can see it every day. You need to stay connected with your goal. for me, having my annual planner within my laptop, like every time I open my planner, I see that. And I actually write my goal on the top section of that. So for those of you who are in the Styling Masterclass, you'll see there's kind of like a blank area at the top. So you can write your goals in that area. And you can even write goals like for each little section. And then you need to schedule then the tasks that you have into your calendar. And so again, this is literally what I do. Like at the start of the year, I put all the school holidays. So I know that I'm not going to be doing anything that's like high intense activity during school holiday times. But during the term times, like that's when, I record my podcast, I do the interviews. That's when when I'm teaching inside my courses. And that is when, I'm sort of having all of those things that really require my touch points. And I also sort of batch my work so that I can, really ease off the pedal during the school holidays as well. So, the goal of today was really to help give you more clarity, to help you where you're going, because of course you're more likely to get there. You cannot expect to achieve your goals if you don't even know what they are or you don't feel connected with them. So if you're serious about, really making this next 6 months count and actually reaching the goals that you set at the start of the year, or even if you're pivoting and you're setting new goals to get you to the end of the year and end the year on a high note, then I really hope that you have found this episode valuable. I hope that you go through those exercises. And I just also want to let you know that I have got a few exciting things coming up for this next 6 months that I'm going to be sharing with anyone who is on the wait list for the Styling Masterclass. So, I know that some of you who said that you weren't able to join at the last round, I have got some things coming up and I really don't want you to miss out on those. So make sure you get on the wait list because I will be sharing more about that very, very soon. So, again, like we started this exercise about, thinking about where we want to be in 5 years' time. And I want you to think about where you will be, in 5 years' time if you've taken these steps and you've gone through this process. So really make sure that you do this. And I think you'll find that it's going to be really helpful to you. So thank you so much for joining me today. I hope that you found it really valuable. This is episode 125. You can leave a comment in the review section if you found this episode really helpful. Be sure to share it with anyone that you think, is maybe struggling with their goals, or they've had a tough 6 months and they need to feel re-inspired and motivated to face the next coming 6 months with more confidence and clarity. And I hope that not only do you find this valuable, but other people will as well. So again, I really appreciate you showing up every week for those of you who are regular listeners, and I really appreciate your time. So thank you so much for joining me, and I will connect with you again very soon.
All of the links and info for this episode are at nataliewalton.com/podcast. Don't forget to subscribe so that you can get a direct download of the latest episode. And I really appreciate when you take a minute to rate and review, as well as share the love with someone you know who might benefit from this episode, or on social media. If you'd like to access a range of free resources, come visit my website, nataliewalton.com. Thank you to Jaeger Media for producing this podcast. And I would also like to acknowledge the people of the Bundjalung Nation where it was recorded, and pay my respects to elders past, present, and emerging. I look forward to connecting again soon. I'm Natalie Walton, and you've been listening to Imprint.